Hello and welcome to my channel, Emma's Life in Norfolk. This channel is about my garden, about my life in Norfolk and about other things that I get up to. So starting here is really where I left off on my last video. So cutting back the privet, which really is getting a little bit out of control. I was trying to give priority to my variegated privet because I wanted my variegated privet to get a bit bigger and a bit taller and a bit stronger, and it grows a bit slower. But the rest of it I really wanted to cut back. I went up quite high on the ladder and then didn't want to go that much higher, but I have got a bit more to do really. But I did manage to get quite a lot back. So this video is really me tidying up the garden for the start of spring. So you'll see me moving things, chopping things, clearing up. When I say moving, I'm not really moving, am I? I'm kind of just getting all the old stuff and putting it in the bin. That's what I mean. I'm not moving any plants or anything. You can also see it's quite bright and sunny here, which is really lovely to be gardening in the warmth of the sun. And we didn't have that much planned for today, so I did a bit of work in the house, spent some time helping my daughter with her homework, and then decided to go outside. We spent some time sitting outside on a picnic blanket as well after I tidied up, and I helped my daughter with some of her maths. So although I had managed to clear back quite a lot, there was still quite a lot more to be done in this area. So you'll see me doing a lot more of this bed, really just cutting back everything which is finished flowering last year, but to be honest, some of it just broke into tiny little pieces in my hands, so I think some of it is probably from the year before. You'll watch me talk about some of my lupins and what I'm doing to ensure they don't flop over. You'll then also see me doing some work on my passiflora, and I end up cutting that right back. So something that I do wrong every single year, and I'm not going to do wrong this time, is putting these in. So these are to give a plant support, so maybe a delphinium or a lupin. And what happens every year is my lupins get about that high, they start flowering, they start falling over, and then I think, where's my stand? So this year I'm going to get in early. So my lupin is just here, has got some moss around it, but I've taken the twigs and I've taken some of the old growth from last year away. There's also a couple of plants which I do quite like, but plants have to be in the right place, and what I don't want is the lupin to struggle because there are other plants around it. So I'm going to put the stand like that, so it's going to grow up through this support frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it quite deep, if I can, that is, without bending the metal. And then as it grows, you can actually lift it up slightly, you see? So it'll grow through there and be supported, as opposed to growing to this height and then just flopping over. That's the idea. So you can see I've managed to clear quite a lot, but it does take time. And I do worry all the time, like there's aquilecias here, there's forget-me-nots. So it does bother me a bit that I'm standing on things, but all of this should have been done, as I said, last year. But I'm demonstrating that it's not too late to get, never too late to get started. Even if there's jobs that you should have done last year, you just didn't have a chance. See, you can just start from springtime. I was about to say then it's the first day of spring, but then that'll be the third time I've said it. Not that I look forward to spring at all. The thing is, obviously in England, we can get snow right up to after Easter. Sometimes as late as May. Not very often now, but it is possible. So I'm going to cut a little bit more here, and my battery's running quite low on my phone. So I'm going to go into the greenhouse and do some pottering in the greenhouse. Probably finish off my lupins. And I always try and make a point of going down, cutting these back as low as possible. Ideally so you can't see them and the new growth comes up. It's so old, it's all breaking into little pieces. Probably might have been the year before's growth, actually. It's possible. I'm trying not to still do too much weeding. I don't want to disturb too much, this is the thing. A couple of big, that's Michaelmas daisies. Into this section, I'm not very good really. I love growing my plants, but I'm not very good at design. I don't think. I'm very good at making sure the short things are at the front and the longer things at the back. Taller things even, not longer. Somewhere in here is another lupin, and every single year it struggles because there's so many things crowding it. These Michaelmas daisies, the little purple ones, they really get around the roots of everything. A big handful there. That's good, I'll put that in my bag. That's a long one. Don't know what that was. Oh, goldenrod. Goldenrod spreads like anything as well. I'm getting there. Oh, there's my other lupin. So by clearing this out this early, or late, depending upon your perspective, I've done it just before the lupins start really taking off, which will mean they'll not be fighting for space as they are usually. I nearly filled up my big bag. Piece of rubbish there, pick that up. I'll just go up to my, what's that called? Obelisk? I never know what it's called. Ah, that's my rose. That's a very old rose with very sharp thorns. I would say that rose was planted in the 1930s or the 1940s. Incredible, isn't it? You think about that. How long a plant can live. Cut that back. A lot of these I'm just literally pulling up and they're falling to pieces as I try to put them in the bag. And the sun's going in now. Been so lucky with the sun. Just trying to see what's happening with that bit there. I think that's a mix of goldenrod and the rose. Yeah, the rose is all sprouting there. That's good. Do I take too much of the rose? It's a shame when these are all mixed in, so I'm going to pull that up from the root because I don't want a daisy in the middle of a rose. That's the problem when plants spread like that. Trying to keep control of them. And that one is as well. Oh bother, not got that from the root. Let's try again. Yeah, got that. Ah, something's getting me in the face now. I think it's that rose. Ouch. Might put some of this in my bin. Has it gone down at all? Oh, it has gone down a bit. That's good. I should have probably left the lid off. That would have helped it go down a bit more. This is my kingdom come, this is my will be done. I think that's my Nemesia, which I think is now dead. Nearly finished this piece. Gonna cut the rose back. Ouch! A little bit. Ow. This rose bush does have really lovely flowers, but also really evil thorns. So in a few weeks, this area that I've just cut back, I'll be able to get a little fork and just be able to gently dig all around the earth, around the aquilecias and around the other plants. Then my little bird table it's got a solar panel on the top, which means the water comes up and it sort of makes that running water sound, which is really relaxing. But because it's absolutely full of leaves and needed to be cleaned out, the motor wasn't working properly. So I just wanted to clean all of that out. I thought that I'd maybe be able to get it a bit cleaner by using my hose, a bit like a pressure washer, but that didn't really work. But I have cleaned it out. I've got rid of all the leaves and then I filled it up with fresh water. But for some reason I couldn't get the motor to work, so I need to ask my husband to have a little look at it. So I don't know what's happened there. It was my daughter's idea to use the hose, which was very sensible. And then the shrub in the middle didn't used to come out as far as the bird table, or the little water feature. Didn't used to go that far, so I just decided to cut it back a little bit. I think it's quite nice for the small birds because they'll sit in the shrub and then jump and have a little drink. But I don't want some of the bigger birds to use that. So that was my thought about just cutting that back a little bit. And then this shrub is covered in buds. So it seems a bit of a shame to cut it back. Again, I should have cut it back last year, but that's one of those things. So I just cut a few branches which were sticking out quite a long way. I just cut a few branches out. And the flowering raspberry needed to be cut back as well, but I didn't want to cut that back because it's going to be in flower in a couple of weeks. It's really lovely. So then I went back to that bed and just started cutting back and pulling up some of the long bits of grass that were all around the geranium. And the rosemary has got very big, so I decided to cut some of that back. I would like to encourage the rosemary to be back a bit because at the moment it's flopped right over onto the path. So I think that needs quite a harsh haircut, and then hopefully I'll be able to encourage it to grow closer towards the fence as opposed to the pathway. You can also see there by the fence when my passiflora goes up. But it's really gone wild and gone out of control. And in a minute you'll see that I try to separate it all, but it's all got, it's like octopus arms, all tangled up and kind of in a complete muddle. So in the end I decided the only thing for it was actually to cut it back quite hard, which seems a bit of a shame, but I've cut it back quite hard, and then as soon as it starts sprouting, I'll weave the branches exactly where I want them, as opposed to how it was, which had just got in a massive great lump and I couldn't do anything with it. It's not good for the plant because the flowers etc. can't really be seen, so that's what I decided to do. And then you can also see where I cut that rosemary back. There was another thorn growing up in my grass. So what's happened is these thorny plants that I'm getting from the next door neighbour, they're weeds and they're coming up in my garden and they send off runners, and it really does create quite a problem because they're nasty thorns and you get them coming up everywhere. So can you see by taking out some of the branches underneath the rosemary how it's really lifted it? I was quite pleased with how I managed to sort that out. A few people have posted on my channel all about learning from me, and I really want to emphasise the fact that I'm just learning as I go along. I'm far from any sort of expert. I'm not particularly knowledgeable. I just have learned as I go along, and I enjoy being outside. I enjoy gardening, so I just learn the same as everybody else. You find that some things work, some things don't. You make mistakes. So like I say to you when I'm in my greenhouse, my common mistake is not labelling plants because I think, oh, I'll remember where the yellow ones and the red ones are, and then the next day I've forgotten. So labelling things, using the wrong sort of soil, thinking that I can just use soil which then has loads of weeds come up, and I don't know the difference between the seeds and the weeds. So there are things that you just learn, and also with reusing soil, because I've got that pile of soil that I have used, you get, if you've got one worm in that soil, that then eats the seeds as they start sprouting. So there's different things like that which I have learnt over time. And then you know next time that you're going to do things differently. Like last year, I put my kohlrabi out really far too late. So as a result, I didn't get any kohlrabi for dinner over the winter. So you can see here, I then started cutting back some of my passiflora. Okay, so I've managed to cut an awful lot back. I was quite pleased when I came out earlier today to see that I'd done this big section. It looks so much better. Just now, got to do the half of this bed. And what I was doing a little while ago is cutting back some of the passiflora, because the passiflora looks lovely, but it can go wild, and also some of it had died back, so I needed to cut that back. And it's also going in the neighbours, which I don't really want it to do. Now what I've realised is I don't have my... I've got my clippers. I've got my clippers, but I haven't got my cushion. But then I can't use my cushion here anyway, so that's okay. Are you going to continue finishing off your history? Good girl. Some of these are just loose, just sitting there ready for me to pick up. Also cut back the rosemary quite a lot. You going to do your history, sweet one? Go on then, get it done then, and then you can do what you like. Mummy's going to come in and help with your maths. Really? I hope it's not too early for the bees. That's the only problem. Might be a bit early. Try not to stand on things again. Oh, it might be. Our next door neighbours have bees, so we're lucky enough to get some honey sometimes. couple of plants here I don't recognise. I could do with my buckets, but my bucket is full. So that's a... Just see if I can pull that up. No, I can't. Ah! Oh dear. That's funny to be caught on camera. Oh. Serves me right for pulling the stalk, which was actually dead, but I was just trying to pull up the goldenrod, because goldenrod is lovely in the right place, but it spreads so easily and it's in the middle of other plants, which I don't want. Oh dear. I'll have to cut that bit and see if me falling over goes viral. Just cutting some of this back a bit. It's the one with the evil thorns. Really painful thorns that get those in your finger. Yesterday I did manage to get one in my finger. Oh, see, that time it worked. But the time before, I fell over rather spectacularly. See, partly in the United Kingdom, when it's fine, you've got to take the opportunity, because tomorrow it might be pouring down with rain, you see. So, and then I'll regret having not got any of this done. So that's my thought process. It's a big weed. Oh, I missed all that bit as well, didn't I? Didn't see that. You know what I find is I'll do one job for a certain period of time, but I get a bit fed up and then stop and do something else. And some of these sticks are so... I think some of this growth is from the year before, because it's just so brittle. That's what I think. Do another pile there. Ouch. These lovely leaves. I love those leaves. Yeah, so all this is just breaking up as I touch it. I think it's from last year. I didn't cut back quick enough. And by the time I was going to cut back, everything was a foot tall and you couldn't cut back without damaging things. So some of you commented that it's really sunny where you are, and soon you're going to be going into autumn. I always find that fascinating, how we're all in different places. That pear tree is struggling. So here is a pear tree, and this has got, what's that? That's a dead branch that can come out. When I put that pear tree, the fatsia was much smaller, and this wasn't there. I think that's a japonica, isn't it? I think so. Ouch. That's good. Get those nice tall ones out. As soon as my bin's emptied, I've got another load to fill it with. I am intrigued. What do you all do to avoid standing on your plants? Do you have like little stones that you stand on for your big borders or bigger borders? I'm never sure what people do. That's an honesty. Don't want to cut that. That's part of... Oh, I don't want to pull that bit. I do want to cut that. Cut that right back. It's lovely silvery leaves. There's two. There's Globe artichoke. And then there's another plant which is very similar to the Globe artichoke, and I can't remember its name. I'm going to put these straight in the bin because there's thorns. I'm getting there, aren't I? Some of these weeds come in from under the other side of the neighbours, which is not helpful. And the thorns do too, which is not helpful at all. The next door neighbour on this side loves gardening. She's got a really lovely garden, but this whole section here is kind of a bit wild. Do a little bit more over here, and then that's it for me for today. I love it when you think some of these things have only just finished flowering. Danarines, and look, they're ready to ready to flower again. Another thorn, so I'll put that straight in the top of the brown bin. I need to get like a big piece of concrete to bash that down. My husband will do that for me. That's what I mean, look, about the Michaelmas daisies. Oh good, got the root out. I like them, but I don't want them stopping my rose from flourishing. And if we get a few more days like this, I'll be able to weed without worry, because the insects will all be out. And then, unfortunately, if anything happens to them, it's because the changing weather, which we have had in the past. Right, so this needs to come out. It's quite good as well if you have an open fire. You can use these to... You can use goldenrod to get your fire started. We're probably not going to have many more fires though now. It's lovely and dry. There's another aqualecia. And I'm going to take some of this grass from around here, around the tree, because that grass is quite dry and dead. My dad always enjoyed gardening, but he always worked such long hours when I was little. But he used to do most of the work in the garden. And someone posted something the other day on my channel that made me reflect on this. Because I was always, me and my sister. I just got one sister. She would have been indoors with my mum, and I'd have been outside with my dad. I always considered myself like a child that preferred to be outside, which I always think is strange that I then ended up with a job that was in an office. But then, don't get me wrong, those of you that know me know that I enjoy my work most of the time, so it's not that. But I don't think in the United Kingdom we are very good at helping children with career choices. And children, adults, you only know what you know, don't you? You don't know what you don't know. And I can remember my careers advice consisted of spending an hour with the careers advisor looking through the world's biggest book. I mean, it was massive, this book. And you were just supposed to sit there and flick through the pages, and that was it. And I think at that point in time, I went through a time where I wanted to be a vet. And I think probably at that sort of time, I perhaps still wanted to be a vet, I'm not sure. There was like no real guidance at all. No sort of like discussion of, do you like being outdoors? Do you like being indoors? Some of these things that actually are really important for a child to reflect on. But then, like with me, you can spend a lot of your days in the office or working at a laptop, but then spend your spare time outside. I'm not sure I'd want to have a job which was outside all seasons. Although I wouldn't call myself a fair weather gardener, because before I had my daughter, I'd be out here with hat, gloves, all weathers. In our other house, I used to do the same. My husband was like, where was I on a Sunday? And he'd have probably been watching the football. I'd have been in the garden, even if it was raining. Right, I've talked for enough now. So I'm going to change the settings and put it back onto time-lapse. So I'm still very much learning with my videos too. So I'm trying to do a bit of a mix between normal time, fast forward, where I'm talking, where I'm not talking. So let me know what you think. Please let me know what works best. So you can see to begin with, well, I started off, there's the brambles all coming through. So I was cutting back the brambles and trying not to get thorns in my fingers. I've already got one that I need to get out from yesterday. And then I started looking at the passiflora and trying to decide what on earth I was going to do. So in the end, you'll see that I cut it right back. So I think I've got enough in my brown bin, in that big green bag, in my bucket that I carry around, and then I've got about 4 piles of things, all that need all the garden waste that I'll probably be filling up the bin for quite a few weeks, to be honest. So in the last few minutes while you're watching me sort this out, I thought I'd read through a couple of your comments. Now, I wanted to say thank you to those of you that have just started following me, and thank you for your lovely comments. I also love those of you that know this, that follow me on my other channel. I also love knowing where you're from. So please, if you don't mind, do share that, because we all like to see where we're watching from. So the first comment is from Ms. Artist Wannabe. And she says, my old neighbour ripped out all the shrubs and rose bushes along the fence line. She said she wanted more colour. She planted a bunch of annuals. She never liked to work in the garden. She didn't mind the garden at all. And it turned into a big patch. Oh, she didn't look after it. Yeah, she didn't mind the garden at all. And it turned into a big patch of dirt and weeds. It made me so sad. I love your little garden. So much greenery. Thank you for your lovely post. I don't understand, Ms. Artist Wannabe, why someone would want to do that. I guess that she didn't really understand plants at all. And she probably thought that those annuals were going to keep on flowering and probably come back the next year. She didn't realise with annuals, you buy them and they are just annual. So, she probably thought, oh, I'll get these flowering for longer. But she'd have been much better having the lovely shrubs and the rose bushes. What a shame. Miss Artist Wannabe also said that I could put a few pavers under my bench, like a tiny patio, and that's what she did at hers, and it makes it easier to take care of that space. That is a good idea, and that will stop my bench from rotting, won't it? Claire Desbois, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Claire, I like your name, Claire with an I. Your video just popped up on my screen and I instantly loved your garden. Oh, thanks. Well done on trimming the hedge. You are braver than I would be. Looking forward to your next video. Thanks a lot, Claire. Sandy says trimming really opened the area up. Great job. My rusty garden. And that's Ali. And Ali's from Canada. And Ali said, great job, Emma. It was a big job for sure. Gerald does all the hedges here with his big trimmer. Have a super day, Ali. Now, my husband should do the hedges. He doesn't touch really much in the back garden. He sometimes cuts the grass, but the front hedges, oh man, one of them's only about 8 foot tall. That really does need to be cut, and that does need my husband's big cutter. But we had various problems with that. That kept leaking petrol and all sorts. Ainsling 6564 says your video just came up on my feed. I've been making the most of the sun after all the winter storms too, and got to cutting back some hedges. I had a volunteer laurel growing against a north-facing wall, and while it was nice greenery, it was becoming a bit of a beast. And I've been wanting to take it out for a few years now, so I got to it. That's great, isn't it, when you get onto a job that you've been thinking about for a while? I'm so glad it's gone. I had a 2-year-old Photinia, I don't know what that is, so I'll have to look it up, that I transplanted in its place. Got a lot done these 2 days. It's great to be able to get out in the garden at last. Well done. Sounds like you managed to sort out loads. Vanessa Hawkhead. Vanessa says, hi Emma, you're doing a great job in your garden. I absolutely love spring gardening. I'm in Yorkshire and I can see new life in my garden. It's exciting. I'm new to your channel and loving it. Oh, Vanessa, thank you. And I love Yorkshire. That's really nice. Are you anywhere near the beautiful city of York? Gladys Sparker says, looks really good. This is my first time watching. Thank you very much. And Cami says, oh, I hope you can save the feet of your bench. And Mrs. I1329 says that she put bricks under each leg of her bench to stop it from going in the mulch. Good idea. Okay, so I'm nearly at the end of my video. So thank you so much for watching, for commenting and for liking. And I look forward to seeing you next time in my garden or Emma's Life in Norfolk. Bye-bye.